Good morning. Welcome to craft time here at the Lisbon Hepburn Library. My name is Michelle McLagan and I am the director here at the library. And today we are going to make a penguin together. If you haven't picked up a craft packet for this week, we do still have a few left. We're open today from 9 to 5 and we're open next week regular hours, and they're available for as long as supplies last. So this is the penguin that we're going to make today. It's really simple. There's just a lot of cutting and a little bit of gluing. It's black cardstock and it's the page of a book, all cut into the shape of a penguin and glued together. So you'll need your craft packet, and what that has is a page with the instructions and templates for two different penguins. So you can choose to make one or you can make both of them. And then you will also have a page, two pages from a book and a piece of cardstock. And the piece of cardstock can be cut in half to make the two penguins. You'll need one of the pages of the book for each penguin as well. You'll need to provide your own scissors, a pencil. I have a mechanical pencil here, but it can be any kind of pencil, and some glue. It can be a glue stick or it can be liquid glue in a bottle that you squeeze. It doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our template, and now I have one that I made my sample with. So rather than waste another piece of paper, I'm going to make the other penguin. And I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to cut out my second penguin here. I'll put that aside. And we want to cut around the very outside of our penguin. And I'm just going to kind of do this a little bit quickly so that you don't have to watch me cutting for a really long time, but you can be more careful at home. I just want to make sure that I show you what the steps are so you know what to do on your own. So we'll come all the way around his head and his beak. And we'll get rid of the scrap pieces of paper. We may be able to use them for something else, or else we'll just put them in the recycle bin. So I hope you enjoyed the story we read the other day. This is the same kind of penguin that we had in the story. It's an emperor penguin. And these kind of penguins live in Antarctica, as we discovered in the story. So we'll cut out, there's his second wing, and then we've got two little feet down here and a little piece of his tail. He's got little webbed feet and a little tail that you can see since he's standing up. So we'll just get in there and cut around the outside of that. And one more little foot here to finish up. All right, so there is the outline of my penguin. And what I want to do next is take my piece of black cardstock, and you can cut it in half if you want to. This is half of mine because the other penguin came out of the other half. And you'll want to line him up, and then take your pencil. Like I said, this is a mechanical one. And you just want to trace all the way around the outside of the penguin. And again, I'm going to do a really quick job of this. But when you trace on black, it's really hard to see, but the pencil makes it so if you hold it up to the light just right, then you can see pretty well. So we'll just come along and do this side of his belly and do his other wing, back up over his shoulder, bottom of his head and around his beak, and that is it. I don't know how well you can see it on the video, but the outline of the pencil, it kind of shines. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, so you can see where that is. So then we're going to take our scissors again, and we're going to cut around the outside of the penguin. And as long as I hold the cardstock up at the right angle, I can see my lines. So I know what it is that I'm supposed to be cutting out here. You may need some help from an adult in order to do this, but it shouldn't be too difficult. And so there we go. There's kind of the top half. You can see that. There goes a wing. We'll get rid of the extra paper there too, so you can see what I'm doing. And then we'll come along and make it really, really quick cut down the side. And then, as we did with the template, we've got some feet here that we're gonna have to cut out. And here is his other wing. And there is his tail. And we'll just shape around here and get his little feet. Now, we do have a whole bunch of different books at the library that have penguins in them. We have some storybooks, we have some nonfiction books about penguins, and then we've got a couple of movies too. We have Happy Feet and I think a couple of other ones, The Penguins of Madagascar. We've got several of those. So there is our penguin, okay? And this was the template we started with, so that looks pretty similar. What we're going to do next is we are going to cut out this white part of his belly. So basically, we are going to come along and cut away this black part that made most of his body. So I'm just gonna come along here, and we're going to take off that section that showed us where his wings went, and come down through here and remove the black parts that showed us where his feet went as well. And we'll get rid of some of these pieces of scrap. And then what we're going to do is take one of our book pages. So I've got that here. And you can look at the front and the back, and you can decide which side you want to use. In this case, I want to use this side because it has more words on it. And then I want to make sure that what I do is make sure the penguin and the white part line up. If I flip things over, things aren't going to match, okay? So you want to make sure it's facing the right direction, or you would have to flip your penguin over. So I'm going to lay it down here on my words, and I'm going to take my pencil again. And you can use a marker for this if you want to. It'll show up just fine either way. And trace around the white part of the penguin onto my book page. There we go. And then I'm going to quickly grab my scissors here and cut this part out. This will cut a little faster. The paper's a lot thinner than the cardstock. So I'll just come along here. Okay, I'll put that aside for a moment. And then I've got to take care of these little feet. And make sure I've got him a little tail. And then you can just kind of touch those up and round them off a little bit more. Okay, back to my penguin. I want to just make sure that I've cut enough and that it's pretty much how I want it. You can take and adjust a few things. Maybe you don't want it quite so pointy at the top or whatever. Okay, now I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper so that I can do some gluing, and I want to flip over my piece of book, and I want to get my glue and glue this whole thing on the back side. And then bring over my penguin body and my piece of book. And the one thing with the glue stick that's kind of nice is I can slide it around once I've put it in place and make some adjustments and make sure it's where I want it to be before I press it down. Okay. Now, the other thing that we have is we have two more little white sections. We have a piece of beak here, and then we've got a white spot that's kind of on the back of his head. So what I'm going to do is cut out this white spot, and you can freehand these two if you want to. You don't have to cut them out and trace them, but I think for me right now, I will show you what that's kind of like. So there is one of them, and I get back my page of the book, and I'm going to look for a spot that's got a bunch of words in it. So I'm just going to do a quick trace around that. Put that aside, grab my scissors, and these were old books that we used. They were not new books that people wanted to read anymore, so we don't want to destroy a good book, and we certainly don't want to destroy a book that you've borrowed from the library. So that's why we've given you pages so that you can cut them up and it's okay. So we'll just do that. And then we're going to come back over here and put some glue on the back side of this spot. And then return over here to his head. And I don't remember which direction it was supposed to go, but it goes right about there. And then the other part that we had was just this little sliver to make his beak. And that's so small, I'm not going to try and trace that. I am just going to come back over here and freehand a little sliver out of the book page and then rub it across my glue stick and place it, if it sticks, there we go. Place it right in there where it belongs. And that is our penguin for today. You'll just need to let it dry a little bit. And if you make your second one, you will have a pair of penguins, and they can be something that you play with, or you can put them on the fridge. You can give them away to somebody. You can do whatever you want to. So thank you so much for joining us today for our penguin craft story time. I look forward to seeing you next week. And once again, it's Michelle McLagan at the Lisbon Hepburn Library. Have fun crafting.